Well, Klaus, first off, we'd like to thank you so much for your informative talk today. As you kind of see, there's a little community that's starting to brew here, right? From Google and EDA and clued in helping hosting today, in bringing people together in different verticals and kind of sharing best practices. Can you kind of give us your thoughts on what Google and EDA are doing and with these data talks and these organization and meetings?
Absolutely. I think it's great to see these meetups popping up, especially on the area of discussing data and the use of data. When we started out our journey on establishing analytics capability at Nets, I wish we had these kind of forums where we could have gone in and listened to learnings from other companies as well. So I think what I share today, based on the journey we've been through, all the learnings we've had and scars on the back and mistakes we've made, I think it's great to share that. We see a lot of companies today having the interest and wants to follow the same journey and go the same way. So a lot of value in this sharing of knowledge and experiences.
That's super interesting. So I think you mentioned this a few times during your talk too, learning by errors and getting scars on your back. Can you kind of maybe discuss some of the challenges that you saw with your organization still trying to stay ahead of the curve in the data space?
Yeah, so I think there's no, there's not one recipe for how to do things. There's a lot of different technologies out there. One of my points today was to make a choice, get the technology on board, start playing with it, start using it. You need to have certain, use cases that you're running after. Don't boil the ocean. Think big, but start small. Create a couple of value propositions, but get going. Start working with the technology and get some learnings from it, and also make some mistakes. But you're in a good state if you're just working with it. I mean, I think a lot of companies are holding back because they fear they will run into a huge investment and something that will go on for years and years and years. In a way, they're right. But on the other hand, who wants to be without analytics capability 4 or 5 years from now?
Absolutely. And I think our viewers today and our attendees really got a lot of value how you mapped out different sequences in how to arrive to becoming a data-driven organization. Can you kind of give us your experience on how you guys were able to achieve kind of these forward-thinking processes in order to be where you're at today?
Yeah, no, I think we had ownership. We've had different ownership for the last 4 or 5 years, but I think some of the ownership came from US, and they had experience with building this on US based company as well as other European companies, and they brought some drive to us and said, guys, you have to get going here. That gave it some direction, and it also gave us a mandate to start working with kind of technologies. And I mean, we have a certain size that can ratify investment into this, but if I'm looking at smaller companies, they are exactly struggling with the same issues today, that the whole thing about creating a business case that drives it and so forth. Sometimes you have to experiment with the technology before you actually find the business case. But you have to allow for a little bit of taking a chance here, a risk actually, to do the investment.
Yeah, sure. And for our followers and viewers today, can you kind of give some insights on some trends and maybe pass some knowledge sharing on what they could focus on, maybe to stay on pace with or keep up with in the same kind of space that you guys are following over?
Yeah. So coming from the financial industry, I think the data will explode in the years to come. We're working with payments today, typically coming from a person to another organizations, but in the future with IoT, with your refrigerator ordering the next meal, or your car ordering gas or service repair, this whole thing about events being distributed from machine to machine, the whole machine to machine will make the data points explode in the future. So I think there's both a trend that the ones that can crack understanding the patterns and leveraging the patterns within that new domain, they will be successful. And then I think other things also start arising. There's a lot of talk about ethical AI and ethical use of predictions and machine learning. I think that's a very, very valuable or valid discussion to take up now, because when things start happening machine to machine, what are the things that and the logics that will happen there and so forth. We need to be on top of that, and I also think we need some regulation and compliance framework around the use of AI going forward.
Can you kind of maybe explain how maybe newer technologies like Cluden, I think you architected it almost like having an intersection or middleware of where data is flowing from IT to business to get it to the right domain experts for data ownership?
Yeah, so I think your solution, can really help bridge the gap between business and technology. One of the learnings we've had with having an open source or Hadoop approach to getting started is that the people who work with it are quite technical by nature. So a lot of our analysis has been written in a command prompt or in Jupyter and so forth. You don't have upfront these kind of easy ways to visualize things or organically drag around and do a little bit of what if analysis. So I think having some kind of middleware that can bridge the gap and also invite business in to explore with data, that can be bridged by the solution from your side.
Well, yeah, that about wraps it up. We really appreciate you, again, your busy schedule and coming in and sharing your best practices and insights.